it's Donna from scribblinggrace.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how I paint these really colorful and simple acrylic backgrounds in my journaling Bibles. So I'm going to show you both ways, one with my interleaved journaling Bible, which has the full blank page, and one with my normal ESV single column, which has just the normal 2-inch margins. So you can get a feel for it depending on what Bible that you have. I love my ESV interleaved because it has so much space to work in, but I know that a lot of us don't have that, and so I wanted to present another option. So first I'm going to show you the interleaved full page version, and then I'll show you quickly the scaled down version as well. So I am using my Apple Barrel acrylic paints for this page. You really could use any type of acrylic paint, and you don't have to prep your page when you're using acrylic paints in your journaling Bible. So I love my Apple barrels because they're super duper cheap, they're easy to find, they're at Walmart, and they just work wonderfully in a journaling Bible. All right, so I'm putting a piece of paper underneath the page I'm working on that'll protect the pages below it, and I picked out a bunch of colors. So this page is going to be super duper colorful. You, of course, and obviously can do your own thing with this, and you do not need to use as many colors. You could even just use 1 or 2 colors to create something similar to this, and I just really want to encourage you to use this as a jumping off point, and I hope that you'll give this one a shot. It's a lot of fun. So I'll put all of the names to the paint colors that I'm using in the blog post that goes along with this video at scribblinggrace.com/acrylic backgrounds, and I'll put that link, or acrylic background, and I'll put that link in the description below so you can head on over there. I'll also put the links to all the other supplies that I'm using in that blog post as well. So everything you need to create a page like this will be in that blog post. All right, so I am using I believe this is a 1/2 inch flat paintbrush. And I started with my lightest color. I decided to do like a pink ombre to blue at the bottom. For my second version of this, I decided to just keep it all the pink ombre down, and I didn't add any blue at the bottom, which I kind of liked better. But again, this is just a Bible journaling with me video, so you can see what I did for my Bible journaling page. So I started with the lightest pink, and then I went down darker pink, and then down to the red. And then I took my dark blue at the bottom and then kind of merged my way up into that pink. And I tried to kind of make it blend into a purpley color. That way it kind of softens into the pink rather than just having a super like rough shift of the colors. You'll also notice that I'm doing curved strokes and curved lines throughout this entire page rather than just doing straight horizontal lines, but that's totally something you could do. I just liked the idea of the curved lines. My inspiration was kind of from this girl on Instagram, Sarah Coey Art. I'll put the link to her Instagram account in the description below. She has these beautiful rainbow, super colorful, kind of similar to the page that I'm going to be doing, paintings that she does, and so I kind of use that as a jumping off point for this page. So I did my background, and now I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the more detailed brush strokes. So I switched to a smaller paintbrush. This is also a small flat paintbrush, but you could use a round paintbrush as well for this. And I'm starting off with my darker pink colors and adding those just in swoops, horizontal curved swoops down my page in different varying sizes. I start with the bigger strokes, and then as I get towards the end, I'm going to have little tiny baby strokes. So I'm going to keep on adding the details until I see fit. Here I just cleaned off my brush, wiped it with a paper towel to make sure it was dry, and now I'm creating kind of a dark blue color. So to create an even darker blue than I have, I just added the complementary color, the red color, and that creates a nice super dark blue. And I'm just trying to add those touches all along my page. Sorry, my baby is distracting me because he's laughing so hard. He's back there playing with the dog. So anyways, so I added my dark blue, and now I'm going to add some touches of the medium blue that I have, and then I'll go light blue, and I'm just going to continue adding in more swipes of these different colors. So you can see that my swipes are getting smaller. So I started with those big pink swipes and red swipes, and now I'm doing smaller blue stripes. And I'm kind of doing some groups of blues in little groups of 2s or 3s. I'm just playing around with it. This is something that's so open to interpretation. So every page that you do like this is going to be completely different. Even between the 2 pages I'm going to show you today, they end up completely different. And I did the same exact technique, I guess you could say, for both pages. So this time I'm taking my brush and I'm doing thinner, longer little swipes. So you can see I'm just changing up the look of each swipe just by changing up the amount of pressure that I'm applying to my paintbrush. I'm also using my paintbrush and just swiping in a horizontal motion. And I could either turn my paintbrush so that the flat side is vertical to the page, and then get a nice thick stroke, or I turn it like I just did where my brush is horizontal to the page and get those nice thin strokes. So just playing around with the brush that you use can create a lot of different fun looks of these swipes. So now I'm using my yellow, and I switched brushes here, and I switched to a small round paintbrush to give me a little bit different look here. So each one is just a lot of fun. I'm just continuing adding in little details where I see fit, trying to fill in the blank spaces of my page. One of the hard parts at this point is figuring out when to stop. We don't want it to look too busy, but kind of the point of this page is for it to look a little busy. So again, totally open to interpretation. You could keep this way simpler than I'm doing, or you can make it even busier. So I would encourage you, do give this a shot, try it out, change up the colors, do whatever you see fit. I'm finishing my background by adding in little white dots. That helps to kind of lighten up my page, I think, and helps to finish it off by adding a little bit of white in there too. All right. I also forgot to mention the verse that I'm working on, which is Job 19, verse 25, which says, "For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will stand upon the earth." One big tip that I have with this page is that you want to make sure that your colors are somewhat dry before you try to add a color on top of that. So thankfully with the paint that I'm using, and my layers are pretty thin, so it dries really quickly, so I'm able to not have to stop and let my page dry. But if you find that some of your colors are murking together a bit, I would encourage you to just put the brush down, let it dry, or use your heat gun to dry it really quickly, and then pick it back up and try it again and just go over it. One of the best things about acrylic paints is that you can cover mistakes up. So if you do get a murky spot, you can just let it dry and then go back over it with a new color, and you'll never know that that happened. So I love acrylic paints because it is forgiving in that way. So at this point, I feel like I'm getting a little bit too much, but I wanted to add a little bit more blue at that bottom. I'm kind of getting a little bit of an ocean vibe towards the bottom of this page, which I thought was fun. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this first background. I'm going to go ahead and let this background dry, and then I'll show you how I'm going to paint in the 2-inch margin journaling Bible, and then we'll come back and add the lettering. So as I said before, this second page I'm using my ESV single column journaling Bible, which has the normal 2-inch margins, or standard 2-inch margins most journaling Bibles have. And this time I'm not doing the blue at the bottom for my background. I'm just going light pink to dark pink. And I kind of switched up how I blended these this time. So I did the light pink at the top, and then I just went straight down to the bottom with my dark pink and kind of just merged that dark pink into the light to create that nice ombre effect. That part can kind of take some practice, so I would recommend trying to practice that ombre effect on a blank sheet of paper before trying to do it in your Bible. It's taken me a few tries to try to get that right, but if you mess it up, you can always just go back over it again. So this time I'm going a bit faster because you already saw me doing those swipes before, but I'm doing the same exact thing as before with slight curves. This time I'm just adding my swipes going from either side of the margin inward rather than trying to do work stuff in the middle. There's not as much middle space because I have a smaller amount of space to work in. So I'm just going straight from the outside of the margin, swiping inward, kind of at a downward angle to create the same type of visual that I had in my last page. And again, just the same colors that I'm using. Normally, I would use a paper plate for my palette or an actual palette, but I didn't have anything on hand, so I just used a sheet of watercolor paper for my so-called palette today. So that's it for this second background. That was really sped up, but I hope that you get the idea of it. I really love this effect. It's just so much fun. And it's so beautiful and abstract. So now I'm going to go ahead. I brought back that original page and I'm going to add some lettering. We're going to keep going back and forth. So again, the verse I'm working on is Job 19:25. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will stand upon the earth. So I'm writing out, I know my Redeemer lives. And I'm using my Uniposca white paint pen, and I'm going to do some faux calligraphy here. So if you're new here, I have a bunch of tutorials on hand lettering. I have a faux calligraphy tutorial as well as brush calligraphy tutorials, and pretty much all of my lettering tutorials have free printables included with them as well. So I'll put the links to all these tutorials to help you create this page in the blog post that goes along with this video at scribblinggrace.com/acrylic background. And again, that link will be in the description below. So head on over there and you'll find everything that you need and all the other helpful tutorials and posts. So once I finish this white lettering, I wanted this to really pop, and with my first busy background, I thought I would do white. With my second background that's a little bit lighter, I decided to do black, so you'll see the difference there. But once I finish adding this basic white background, I'm going to add a little shadow to it with my Tombow Funosuke dual tip brush pen, and that dual tip brush pen has a gray side and a black side, and so I'm going to use the gray side to add a little shadow, and that'll really help this white lettering to pop a little bit more off of the background. Because it's such a busy background, you kind of do need some kind of shadowing or outlining to your lettering to help it to stand out a little bit better, I think. So once I added that gray, I was really happy with the end product. And that's it for my first page in my Interlude Journaling Bible. I was so happy with how it turned out. It's just so much fun. And here's a glimpse at the background, or the back side of the page. You can see that there's no bleed through at all. The great thing about acrylics is that it doesn't bleed through, and you don't need to prep your page beforehand either. All right, so now let's go ahead and add the lettering in this second page. Again, I'm working on the same verse, so I'm just going to write out the same lettering. This is something I like to do, where I do the same verse, even with the same design in two different journaling Bibles. It just helps me to really nail that verse down in my head. And it's also just a lot of fun to do. You don't need to feel like you have to do something different for every single page. So I'm writing out again, I know that my Redeemer lives, and this time I did black with my Tombow Funosuke brush pen, and did hand lettering with that brush pen. Again, tutorials are in the blog post. And then I'm doing the highlight with the white Uniposca paint pen. So it's a little bit opposite than the first page that I showed you. So This one also tend to really, that white really helps it to pop off the background, and I just love it so much. So that is it for these pages. So again, there's so many ways that you can change this up to make it your own. Change up the colors, do straight lines instead of curved lines, do whatever your heart desires. But I would encourage you to give it a shot. And if you do, be sure to tag me on social media at Scribbling Grace so that I can see it. All right, here's the back side of the second page. No bleed through again. And that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And be sure to head on over to that blog post, scribblinggrace.com/acrylic background, to find everything that you need to create a page just like this. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.